Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress. Y'all hold on. Hold on, y'all. I'm having some technical difficulties in my ear. Y'all give me just 1 second. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's bring this back up. I had too many things open and I was echoing in my own ear. Good afternoon, y'all. I guess my computer got possessed by the Labubu today. Labubu, you guys, we are talking about a really crazy, wild craze right now. It's wild and crazy on the show this afternoon. Welcome in, everybody. I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. And I certainly did. Gosh, we had a wonderful show with Rob Effler on Saturday night. If you guys missed that, please go back and watch it. It is absolutely fantastic. We talked about Appalachian Bigfoot Dogman, a shapeshifter's grave, and so much more. And gosh, he's a hoot. I really had a good time with Rob this weekend on the hunt. But today, gosh, y'all, if y'all are on TikTok, my trusted news source, as y'all know, check out Labubu, y'all. Okay, we're going to go take a very deep dive today over on TikTok. This doll is absolutely all the rage right now. And it's the rage and the craze. Not because they're just cute and cuddly little critters, little dolls. They are moving on their own. Their eyes are shifting around while children have them in their bedrooms. And people feel like they're being watched. And I'd say these things just might be possessed and cursed. And people are warning to not buy your children these dolls. Now, this is all for entertainment purposes only today, y'all. And I had never even heard of these dolls. Okay, never heard of them. But my gosh, they're so cute. They're so cute. And I would probably buy one if I didn't know that they might be possessed. And today we are going to take that deep dive into the Labubu dolls and a worldwide satanic agenda, you guys. And we're even going to explore some declassified CIA documents today that prove that there have been witches employed by the CIA to cast spells and curses upon world leaders and to take them out. And they have a pretty good success rate, actually, at doing that by remote influencing people and things like that with curses and witchcraft. So this is a wild rabbit hole. We've got way more to talk about than just this. And also, I didn't mention these dolls might have been, some are saying that they're based off of a Mesopotamian demon, I guess. Okay, so yeah, hide your kids, hide your wife, y'all. This thing is probably not safe. It's probably not safe, but they sure are cute. Okay, so we're about to go there. Okay, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and everything, get the archives going, go over to my website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my calendar of events and all that kind of stuff. My social media links are over there. Also, I have a Patreon and I have a shop over on Etsy. It's called War Woman Goods. If you guys would like to support the channel, that's a great way to do it. Also, y'all come see me down in Florida in a couple of weeks. The Full Disclosure Now conference. And I believe you can still get the tickets with this discount code. If you guys are wanting to get tickets to that, come see me down there. Okay. Let's get to our show today. Okay. Let's get to our show. Okay. So like I said, people are raging over this doll. It's called I'm calling it the demonic Labubu doll. But is it really demonic, or are people just kind of, I don't know, are they overreacting? I think people could be overreacting to this as well. But people are burning their trendy Labubu dolls, claiming they move locations around their house on their own. They feel like they're being watched. And they are comparing this to the demon Pazuzu. Okay, we probably shouldn't say that name too much. I'm going to read you what the company puts out. Labubu is a whimsical, mischievous character from a tribe of collectible plush toys created by Kaising Lung. Let's see. Inspired by Nordic folklore. Recently, a viral controversy emerged on TikTok claiming that Labubu dolls are linked to the ancient Mesopotamian demon Pazuzu. with some calling them demonic. Sources say this claim has been debunked with expert fact checkers, probably, confirming that the comparison was based on an AI-generated image, not real demon iconography. They say, in reality, Labubu dolls are cute, rabbit-like collectibles with unique personalities and designs. They come in various colors, outfits, shapes, making them popular among collectors, and they're highly sought after, and they might have hitchhikers installed, if y'all know what I mean. Of course, I do have our good friend, Dr. Dennis Carroll here. Who better to bring on than my favorite demonologist, Dr. Dennis Carroll. He has decades of experience with demonic beings and doings and all that kind of stuff. And I can guarantee you guys, we're going to have a really fantastic conversation today. Please help me welcome to the show, Dr. Dennis Carroll. Hey, Dennis.
Good afternoon, Jessica. I just wanted to say that if you were feeling unusually happy yesterday, it's because I took your voodoo doll on a picnic in the park. Okay.
Oh, dang, Dennis. Okay, well, that's good to know. I never did send you any of my hair. Okay, so I don't know. I was in a good mood yesterday. So there you go. Oh my gosh, threw me for a loop. Have you heard about these Labubu dolls, Dennis? What's up with these Labubu dolls?
Well, all I gotta say is people. You never learn. Okay. We've talked about this before in the past with all the different kinds of dolls, and that includes these Labubu dolls and everything like that. The dolls in black magic are used as a stand-in, either for you or someone or something. And we've got to always remember that. That's what they are. They are substitutes for the real thing. And I want you to look at that, and I look at it very closely. There is a definite evil patina to this thing, okay? No matter which way you look at it, that's not happy, okay? And here's one thing I got to say, Jessica, and it's very important that we remember this. This goes back to the Grimoires, like the Lesser Key of Solomon, and some of these. Yeah, look at that. I mean, come on.
That one's scary. I give you that. That one's scary. The other ones are cute.
But this goes, you got to remember something, okay? If I were going to call up a demon from hell right now, and I put the pentagram on the floor, I put certain symbols in that pentagram, and I know what those symbols are and what they represent. And guess what they are? They are symbols and signals for that demon.
Ooh.
And that gets his attention. They recognize their symbols. It's just like if I were to write your name, Jessica Jones, on a blackboard, you would recognize that as your name. And you would say, hey, this guy knows me. You know, he's got my name wrote down. And that's what you're doing with demons, folks. Okay, that's what you're basically doing. And these are nothing but substitutes for that, and they're the symbols. And let me tell you something else. These things are based, Jessica, supposedly on Nordic type mythology. Okay, and they actually are representations in some ways of the dwarfs that you hear about in the elves that you hear about in Nordic, mythology. Guess what the elves stand for? They stand for darkness and chaos.
Oh, it is all about chaos. It just does feel like, even if these things are not possessed, let's just put it that way, you got to admit, Dennis, they are causing a lot of chaos around the world right now. And I think it was sparked by people posting on these TikTok videos, and it became viral, as we call it today. And this is just on the tail of Annabelle having her reign of terror through all of the United States, going on tour, plantations burning down, and all sorts of weird stuff going on with the whole Annabelle doll. And now we've got these Labubus or whatever. And they're just, it's kind of like taking over. You get on TikTok and that's all I saw. Maybe I was in the algorithm. Okay. But that's what you see. And it's kind of like a very hot topic right now, or like cursed dolls.
Yeah. Well, look at Annabelle, what it was representation of. It was definitely manipulated by the demonic. And the fellow we're going to talk about in a little bit, Pazuzu, and I don't like to say his name too much. Okay. It's not a good idea. but he is a demon, a representative of a manipulator of people. And listen to this, things. He is very big into that, okay? And that's why he's the star of The Exorcist, by the way. That's another interesting facet of him. And this demon has shown up. Listen to this, folks. He has shown up on different continents, on different Ouija boards in different centuries. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so he is very manipulative. He's all about manifestation and manipulation, and these are the key counterpoints of all black magic and the black arts: manipulation and manifestation. And this is what he is a prince of hell for. Okay, this is one of the things that he does so well. But we got to remember that, we've talked about this before. What's a Dybbuk box? A Dybbuk box is just simply a box that you put a demon in, right? But you guess what? It doesn't have to be a box. It can be something like a doll.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes. And this is interesting, too. I meant to pull up a picture of this, and I forgot. Brother Littlefoot. It's like the baby version of the bunny man from Donnie Darko. Absolutely. I was thinking that, too. And I did a show on that with Dr. John Stamey a while back. We talked about invisible friends and things like that. I think it was the same show we talked about the tulpa as well. But some kind of, it was almost like a troll or something. Okay. But invisible friends. In this demonic, okay, this definitely looks demonic. It's almost like an entity that was inside of Donnie Darko, okay, of that kid in that movie. So could be a dark entity, it could be demonic. I don't know, but it was a voice in his head.
Well, we got to look at it like this, Jessica. Okay, this makes perfect sense when you think about it. Okay, let's say I'm a demon floating around. And I see a doll that looks like me. Well, I'm naturally going to be drawn to it. I'm naturally going to want to inhabit something like that. I'm going to hook up with it because it's a representation of me. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is you're inviting these things in. This is an invitation for them to come into that object, whatever it may be, whether it's a doll or it's a box or it's a vase or whatever the situation is. It is an invitation, and they hardly ever turn down invitations. I know I've never known a demon to pass one up.
Oh my gosh! Well, you give them an inch, they take your life. Okay, basically is what this says. You've got to be very careful when it comes to anything that's possessed. Like I was saying, I think these dolls are cute. They're actually okay. So here, let's get into the history behind these. Okay, and what the creator says. Okay. Because they were actually a plush toy created by Cassine Lung. Okay. They're out of Hong Kong, I believe. Okay. I believe they're out of Hong Kong. It's like Pop. What is that called? Pop Toys or Pop Art? I can't remember the name of the company exactly. Popco or Funko or something like that. And so anyways, they were supposed to be based off a Nordic, I think it was like Nordic folklore. Okay. And let me see if I got a picture of what they the elves in Nordic tradition. The elves are very dark, like I said, in representation. There you go. That's it on the right there. They're representations of darkness and chaos. They will supposedly, in the end, destroy the god in the Norse mythology. They're very bad dudes. They represent the darkness in this universe, actually, and to have dolls based on something like that, gives me the heebie-jeebies on that to think about it, because basically, like I said, these things can be a stand-in for them, and they're drawn to these things. This is just an open invitation, unfortunately. And why would you want to bring something like that into your life or into your house? And my God, give it to your children. I mean, that's another thing, Because they're cute, Dennis. They're cute. And people don't know better. Do you think that is used, if these things are used for demonic purposes and to come into the household, do you think, go ahead.
We must always remember, Jessica, that evil is very good at packaging itself in a very pretty presentation. That's the way it works. And that's how it, gets. You wouldn't think the original, of course, remember you talked about Annabelle. The original Annabelle was just a Raggedy Ann doll. Okay, it didn't look evil. It didn't look, demonic. But he used that. It took it and used that way. When I'm talking about the one that you see in the movies now, that's Hollywood. They make it look as evil as possible. I'm talking about the real Annabelle. And that's just the way these things work. It doesn't have to look all that downright evil for them to use them. You know, that's the way. That's the way they work. They can work with this stuff, and that's what they do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I want to show what the creator claims that they are based off of. I showed you that one character, okay, out of the Nordic mythology there, but also where the wild things are. Okay, this was a great book. When I was a kid, this is one of my favorite books, and you got to say it does look like that character right there, out of where the wild things are, and so of course in my mind I see that I have. My generation grew up with that. And now we've all got kids, not all of us, but a lot of us have kids now. And my kid is about the age that I was when I like where the wild things are. And so when I see these dolls, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm like, oh, where the wild things are, nothing too demonic. Okay. The last thing that I would think of would be demonic, because they're talking about how these are actually supposed to be like nature based and almost like a Bigfoot or something, but with rabbit ears. Okay. And so, my mind did not go directly to a demon doll when I saw those, other than the people on TikTok. I mean, there's videos of children there's one little girl took this doll to church because she said that it was moving. Its eyes were following her as she moved around the room, and they changed colors and just weird stuff. So she took it to church and she was like baptizing it. Okay, she put some holy water on it.
They actually put holy water on it. I would love to have been there to see what the reaction was on that. Definitely, that's interesting. But why would you go through that much trouble if something is disturbing you? A toy should not do that to you. Okay, a real toy should not do that. I mean, I don't remember, talking Susan doll doing that, kind of a thing. Although there have been supposed cases back in the years where certain of these talking dolls said some very weird stuff, and there have been a lot of reports on that too. A doll, like we said at the beginning there, Jessica, is can be a stand-in, and they use it that way. The demonic is very handy at utilizing stuff, manipulating things. They cannot create. Something we got to remember about the demonic is very important. They cannot create. They only take what's there and use it. They're not creators, okay? But they are manipulators of a high scale. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like gremlins. Tyrone says these things are in the category of gremlins. And they do kind of look like gremlins from the movie Gremlins a little bit. Like little trolls or something like that. Mischievous little things is what they look like. Like I said, I think they're kind of cute. Okay, but we will not be bringing one of these into our home. Now, somebody had written the word fugly in there in the chat, and there are these dolls called fugly dolls. Now, if you know what the word fugly stands for, it's kind of ugly, let's just say. And those dolls literally creep me out when I take my son to the store and we go to the toy section. There's these dolls, they have like human teeth, like not real teeth, but they look like human teeth, and they're just weird dolls. And I would never buy one. Actually, my son might have had one a long time ago. Okay. But I don't remember buying that for him. All right. But anyways, some dolls, I just get a bad vibe off of them, and I don't want to bring them in my house, Dennis.
Well, somebody in your chat just asked, if you give somebody your clothes, can they use them against you in black magic? Absolutely, because that is your possession. And when you get one of these dolls, it's yours. It is your possession then, okay? It belongs to you, and whatever comes with that doll, you have invited it into your life, okay? That's just the way it goes, whether it's a Cabbage Patch doll or it's a Labubu doll, okay? It doesn't matter which, or even a voodoo doll, whatever. If you take it, once you take possession of something, I don't care what it is, if it's a pair of glasses, sunglasses, or whatever it is, once you take possession of that, it's yours, spiritually and physically.
Ew. Oh, yeah. So be careful what you take from people too, y'all. Okay, as gifts and things like that. Just be careful, and be careful what you give people too, I guess. And yeah, Monsters Inc. Brown Dwarf. That's a cool movie. And these things do look like the big blue character from Monsters Inc. Actually, they do. Oh my goodness. Well, you got to wonder. I don't know. Is everything that's kind of put out in the public right now demonic? I just wouldn't. I don't want my mind to go there. Like everything has an agenda behind it. Everything is bad for our kids, but it's feeling like it is right now, Dennis. It's like what can we give our kids that's pushed out to the public that's not, detrimental to their health and their spiritual well-being at this point?
Well, we got to remember that whatever the influence is behind something, just like you would not want to give your child an evil book or a very bad book that might influence them, don't give them things that might push them the wrong way they need to go. You want to give them good influences and teach them good things and uplifting type things. You want to stay away from things that are very depressing and dark and insidious in that way. And here's the bad thing about it, though, Jessica. A lot of stuff in our world is packaged. And believe me, I used to work with public relations. Okay, a lot of things are packaged so that you will want it. You'll want it very badly. It's something you got to possess. Okay, that's the way to do it. You can't live without it. How did you live your life up to this point without buying this thing? Okay, that's the way they want you to look at it. Okay, and the second thing is they come at you is they can get through this to your children that way. You want your children to have good things, but be very careful what you do give them because they are just like blank sheets or blank chalkboards. They haven't been written on yet, and you got to be careful what's written on those boards or on that paper. And that's very important because this is how they begin to shape themselves into adulthood. And, evil knows all this, Jessica. The evil and darkness in this world is so insidious and diabolical in the way that it outreaches and influences people to the greater. Look at the movies that we have today. If you were to go bleep out all curse words in a movie, you wouldn't know what the dialogue was, okay? That's it. It would be a bunch of blanks, and that's all it is. And this is what Hollywood is selling, not just to us, but to children as well. Look at the Fast and Furious franchise and all these other things that they've got. Look at the Star Wars. Star Wars has changed drastically when Disney got a hold of it. Yeah, it changed completely. Look at how they're packaging this stuff. That's the smart way evil works. It knows how to package itself so that you'll want it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. It's man, it's just right here in all of our faces. Okay. When it comes to this stuff. And of course this is a multi-billion-dollar company, Dennis. I was listening to something this morning. They were saying it's a $40 billion company right now with these dolls because there's such a craze and people, it's hard to find them. And I think Tyrone had just said that he had bought one for his child for $100. It's too late for him. Okay.
But, I saw the video of people fighting over these things. That's it. They were knocking each other down to get to buy these things. That's not good.
Patch dolls. Okay, do you remember the Cabbage Patch doll craze? We had the Beanie Babies, we had the Cabbage Patch dolls. Now, the Cabbage Patch dolls turned out to have a way more sinister background than we would have ever imagined. Okay, back then. I'm waiting to hear about what the Beanie Babies got behind them too, because how do these crazes even start? Do you know what I mean? Like, people were having knockdown, drag out fights at the Kmart back when I was a kid for Cabbage Patch dolls, Dennis. Yeah. So,
but that is perfect. That is perfect marketing. That they love that kind of stuff. They want to market stuff like that because, hey, that's how they make the big bucks.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, oh my gosh. Well, this is another thing. So Noe says, my wife bought my daughter a doll, but my daughter said, don't worry, it's a knockoff. Okay, so they got knockoffs, which are a little bit cheaper. You call them knockoffs. They're not like the name brand or something, I guess. And I was wondering about that too, because I was like, man, these are so cute. I wouldn't mind having one, but it'd be a little different if you got the off-brand version, because maybe they're not cursed like the original version. Like, well, What do you think about that, Dennis?
Yeah. These can be cursed items, like in that respect. Whenever you get into the demonic and things like that have a dark thing about them, and we don't know what kind of spells were cast, what kind of hexes may have been put on some of this stuff. We don't really know a real true story behind some of these things. But it would not surprise me a bit if these things are not cursed to high heaven. And if you bring a cursed object into your life, guess what? Your life will become cursed. That's just the way that works. It's just like, if you let bugs get in your house, you're going to have a bunch of bugs. Okay, if you let them go, or rats, or whatever the situation is. And this is the way curses work. Once they enter your life, they begin to affect you in all different ways, not just the doll, or not just whatever it is you brought in. And it's almost as if you're being stained spiritually by these things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Tyrone says, my son started having nightmares. I smudged the room with cedar with my Eagle fan. I had nightmares that night. Okay, now Tyrone is the person who said that he'd bought one of these dolls for his daughter, okay, for his child. And so what do you do, Dennis? Okay, I know we've talked about this, about what we do when we have a cursed item, but what do you recommend to people who already have one of these dolls that didn't know better when they bought it? Even if it's off-brand, they're having some weird stuff going on in their home now. What do you recommend for people to do to
counteract? The first thing you need to do is contain this cursed item. In other words, you salt it, use holy water on it, or holy oil, whatever you need to do in that situation. Sage is not really a good idea for a item. Okay, sage is more like for space.
Okay.
What you want to do is directly touch these things. You want to say a prayer over them. You want to salt them. You want to anoint them, and then you need to contain them, like put them in a bag or whatever it is the situation is. And you need to get this thing out of your life. Okay, that's the second thing you need to do. First of all, you address the problem, and then you get it out of your life. And you do that by doing the thing that we talked about before. You go dig a hole somewhere. You bury this thing. You salt it. You say a prayer over it. You walk away, and no matter what happens, you never look back. And don't ever go back to that location again. You have effectively broken that curse that's on that item from your life. Now, if somebody else comes along and digs this thing up, that might be their problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Don't follow the trend, y'all. We don't always need to be following trends too, because it seems like whoever's in charge of all these trends, I don't know, the controllers, whoever's doing whatever, I don't know. There's usually something to it. I remember even when, let's just say fast food. Okay, this is a wild one, Dennis. I remember when Popeyes had put out, and I love Popeyes, y'all. I eat we got them down here in the South, and they put out this chicken sandwich with like homemade pickles, and it was so delicious. It was really good. I mean, it was all right. I tried it, but I remember they put this out as like a special thing. It was like the newest fad, and people were literally getting shot over these sandwiches because they only put out so many a day.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I mean, fights were breaking out, and it's like, but then after all this craze kind of slowed down a little bit, when people started not wanting to get them now because you go to Popeyes, you go and get beat up.
Here's the other thing about that, Jessica. Whenever there's a cursed item, also comes with, guess what? A spirit of obsession with it. You can become obsessed with this thing. I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, this cursed item I got, I hate it, but I can't get rid of it. And I think about it all the time, and I want to handle it all the time." And I said, that tells me right there that you've got a definite cursed item because it has an obsession with it. That's how it attaches itself to you. This is a spiritual attachment. And spiritual attachments are almost like falling in love, okay? It is an obsession, okay? But it's for all the wrong reasons, okay? Not for the good reasons. It's all the wrong kind of thing. And it tells me right there that definitely you've got a big problem on your hands, and you got to break that the correct way, because if you don't, it will eventually, make a big hole in your life. and give you some very bad problems.
Yes.
And that addiction thing is that, I'm just thinking while you mentioned that, I don't know if you remember this and having to think about it. Do you remember when Burger King was selling a black hamburger? You remember that for
Oh
Halloween?
God. Yes. My son wanted to try that. It was a Whopper.
People were obsessed with getting this thing because it was a black hamburger.
It was just a
Okay.
bun.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Weird.
See, that's marketing. They want you to think
Yeah.
you've got to have that thing no matter what, and that's how they make money off of it. But it can be used in very bad ways. This is manipulating people. This is manipulation of the public. Okay, companies know how to do this. People who produce products know how to do this. A lot of these influencers you have now on YouTube and all that, they know how to sell stuff. But if you and I were big YouTube influencers, we could have sponsors and sell their stuff. And if we have a lot of followers, we're in big business here. And that's what all this is about, money. And they don't care, Jessica, how they make that money.
That's right. Well, going back to the Popeyes chicken sandwich that was good. Admittedly, I liked it. Okay. But people started questioning, like, well, if there's all this fad going on with this sandwich, people were fighting over it, losing their lives over it, over a stinking chicken sandwich, just go to Chick-fil-A, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, just go somewhere else if you're going to be able to get your panties in a wad over a chicken sandwich. But people were questioning, well, what was in that sandwich? For people to be fighting over it, maybe there was some kind of more sinister plot and plan behind that.
If I were going to market something, Jessica, okay, and didn't care how I did that, let's think about it this way. What if I were to do some spells over it? Or maybe if I had special ingredients I put in it or whatever to get you to buy this, no matter what, to get that obsession started, like cursed items I said earlier, how with them. Would that not also be a great marketing tool when you think about it?
Oh yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And I wanted to go back and we had mentioned how this doll, people are saying that it was actually based off the demon, an very old ancient Mesopotamian demon called Pazuzu. And I think it's like the god of chaos, right, Dennis? You probably know more about it than I do. Mm-hmm. What do you know about this demon?
Yeah, he is also known as, like I said earlier, he is known as the demonic entity, the Prince of Hell, who is also in charge of manipulation and corruption of people and things. You get that part? Things. Yes. He is very well known for this, and that's why he shows up on Ouija boards a lot, and why he is the star of The Exorcist, by the way. He is a big guy in the demon world, okay? And he, like I said, he is an expert at not only demonic possession and oppression, but manipulation. And that's what happens with objects like dolls, okay? You got to remember something, and we got to lay this out right quick in demonology type standard. An item is not really possessed. You cannot possess an inanimate object. Only living beings can be possessed. You understand? But objects can be manipulated. They can be influenced. They can have a spirit attached to them. They can have attachments, but not, not possession. And that's why you have these things going on with cursed items and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're gonna go there in just a second. And so talking about curse items and gigantic companies actually cursing their items, admittedly cursing them, and then sending them out into the public. Y'all hold your horses, because we're about to get into a really interesting rabbit hole on that one. Now, I did want to mention I had a picture, and of course, half my pictures never get uploaded because I don't know. I guess they just don't upload. Okay. But there was an episode of The Simpsons. Okay, an episode of The Simpsons. I actually had a picture from it, but oh well, it's not here. And so Y'all go back and check out The Simpsons where Homer, okay, I'm going to go through this entire, I actually transcribed everything that Homer said. Okay. And I want to read it to the audience because this is weird. This is really weird. So people were saying on TikTok that this episode where Homer accidentally orders a statue of Pazuzu, of this demon right here, and they show in the cartoon, they show that they packaged it up in Mesopotamia, whatever, like out in the Middle East, okay, and they package it up, send it off on Amazon of all places. Amazon delivers it to their house. Marge opens it up. Yeah, go ahead.
You can actually, that picture right there, you can buy that statue for $129, and I think it's about like 3 foot tall. Why would you want that in your home? Why in God's name would you want that thing in your house? I mean, you're just, opening another door that you shouldn't. I would not advise that. But you don't, like I say, the representation of these things, Jessica, is a direct tie to them. Don't you understand? It is a direct connection that they exhibit with these things. But let me say something since you brought that up, and there's a discussion about this going on, that Bart Simpson is actually a representation of Pazuzu, and that's why you got a lot of weird things going on around the Simpsons, and a lot of prophecies coming true, all kinds of stuff like that, and why you have so much witchcraft and Satanism attached to the Simpsons. It's very strange. And a lot of people are wondering if maybe there might not be a direct connection going on with that and the Simpsons.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Let me give you the rundown of what happened. Okay, on the Simpsons. So they send this. He orders it through. I'm going to say it's Amazon. They package it up in an Amazon package, straight out of the ground when they had dug it up out of the ground, and they send it over to their house. Marge opens it, and Maggie, the little baby's on the floor, playing, and she's got her toys all around her. I think that's her name. And she opens this statue up and puts it on the table, and she's like, Homer, why did you buy this? He goes, well, I thought I was ordering pizza. That's what he said. So Pazuzu and pizza, it does sound kind of similar, right? And I know that also, that food, it's got other meanings as well when it comes to these crazy elites, okay? But let's keep going with this, because Homer, as soon as he pulls it out and he lifts it up, or I guess maybe it's just in the room, Maggie's toys start to move on their own, and they start to hide. Like they can't, all her toys came to life, and they ended up going into boxes and into crates and hiding in the closet. And it was weird. Homer's eyes became all red. He transformed, like something came over him, like a dark evil entity came over him. And
he became possessed. Yeah.
He became possessed. Yeah, his eyes turned red. He started singing a song to the tune of Irish Eyes Are Smiling. If you know Irish Eyes Are Smiling, I'm not going to sing the tune, but I'm going to read you all the words. Okay. He said, when Pazuzu's eyes are staring, glaring, it's time to go to bed. You'll see demon shadows fighting, but it's just inside your head. When Pazuzu's eyes are staring, the moonlight will turn red, because on nightmares until all are dead. And it said that it didn't really make sense, that last sentence, but that's what he said. And then he goes, sweet dreams, Maggie. Don't let the Beelzebubs bite. And he put Maggie to bed. It was weird, Dennis. Why on earth would they have made that? It was almost like another prediction in The Simpsons that these dolls are going to come out. It's going to make other dolls come to life, and people are going to start getting possessed by these demons.
And he also mentioned Beelzebub. That's another demon, by the way.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's another demon name. Why is this considered entertainment? Why are we talking this as being some kind of entertainment? There's definitely a message in here. There's something being put forward in this kind of stuff. And, we've talked about this on other shows, Jessica, about these so-called rituals that some people are doing and all these other things, and passing this off as entertainment. Let me tell you something, and I want you to think about this for a moment. If I was your mortal enemy, and I really hated your guts, Jessica, and really wanted to get you, and I'm evil, okay, guess what I would do? I'd go out and hire me the biggest coven of black witches I could find and curse you to death, okay? And have them put all kind of X's and just destroy your life. That, you know what? That happens a lot in real life. I'm just using that as an example, but that happens, okay? And that can happen. And even, like we're going to talk about the government may be involved in doing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump first ran for president, there were several covens cursing him.
Yeah.
To keep him from becoming president. Right.
Yeah. Dennis,
Yeah.
you actually sound like our government because, I was going to get into this in just a few minutes, but the CIA has declassified documents that are quite concerning, actually, because they hired actual witches to curse world leaders. And the success rate on the deaths of these people is pretty high, actually. They had a controlled, what do you call that? Controlled experiments, which means they were actually trying to unalive people, apparently. And it had like a 27 to 30% success rate, which is pretty good, actually. It's bad for those people, but it was pretty good. So that's weird, right? It's really weird, but that's what our tax-paying dollars go to, y'all. That's what they've gone to for decades, and hiring Satanists, okay, to do things like that. So, so speaking of Satanists, hold on.
When I was approached several years ago by a CIA operative. Yeah. And, he asked me several, I won't get into that day, what kind of demonic questions he wanted to know, things he wanted to know about the demonic. And then he offered me a job with them, okay? And he said something very strange. He said that we want people like you with certain abilities and certain knowledge. We want those kind of people on our team. And I thought that kind of blew my mind to think, hey, you're out actively looking for witches, vampires, whatever you want to hire, werewolves. What's going on with this? Are you looking for psychics to do some of your work for you? That really blew my mind to think that, that's what they've got. They've got these people probably working for them and doing stuff for them right now as we talk. That doesn't surprise me a bit anymore because that's just what kind of business they're in.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yes. It's really interesting. I mean, I know that they have employed psychics for sure because what about the remote viewing program? That's what that's what I do. That's what I was taught. I'm not in the military. Okay, I do know people that have been in the military. Maybe it's part of some of those programs. I've met a lot of interesting people. Okay, and I learned it somewhere down the line. Okay, and so I know that our government they still to this day employ remote viewers. And that's interesting. Hey, Jamie, she says, you'd be surprised at how many people around you practice in the occult. And also, someone who just mentioned, I think it was Maureen mentioned that there's a coven of witches or something that sit in front of like the president, I think. And that reminded me of something because you had mentioned earlier about having voodoo dolls and, maybe taking my voodoo doll to
it might be a good idea to note right here that occult is not something you practice. Occult means hidden or forbidden knowledge or dark knowledge. What you're practicing is the dark arts. You're into black witchcraft and Satanism and stuff like that. You're definitely practicing what's called the black arts.
Yes.
So it's magic, black magic. Yeah, that's what it basically is.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, you had mentioned the voodoo doll earlier, kind of joking around, saying that he took my doll to the picnic yesterday or something. But this is real. This is real life right here. And this was on TikTok as well. Like I said, y'all, it's my trusted news source when it comes to these things. This woman was at this game. What is that? The Giants, I guess. I don't even know. San Francisco, maybe. I don't even know. I don't watch football anymore. Okay, it's all rigged. But this woman was filmed by somebody sitting behind her, taking her little voodoo doll of this quarterback right here and poking it with a needle over and over and over again during these plays, just over and over again. And this guy, this is like real time. They're showing this like in real time. This guy got injured really bad, and he was hurt while she was poking his voodoo doll at the game. Dennis.
Well, Jessica, we got to remember something very important right here, right quick, okay? And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say this. It's not just the item. It's not just the object, my dear. It is the intention behind it. That's where the focus of the power comes from. That dark intention that you're putting forth in it. And you're putting that into that item. And you're going to get something out of it, usually that way. That's the way that works. And that's why spells and hexes use words, and incantations and actions also go with words as well. But it is the basic dark intention that you're putting into. And if you got a voodoo doll and you're sticking pins in it, what do you expect? You're wanting something bad to happen to that person. You're wishing something bad on someone. That's a dark, evil intention, no matter which way you look at it.
It is. Maureen said the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, Louisiana, home of all these wonderful, werewolves and vampires and all these things that we've talked about, Dennis, and voodoo as well. Voodoo practitioners and witches and things like that. So, but the lady with the voodoo doll, I guess they were in New Orleans at the time. So it's fitting. That woman actually had that, if I recall, I think she had it like on a necklace around her neck, and she would just pick it up at the opportune times and start poking it. Man.
Well, you might remember when they took, remember that, I think you put that up on your site. You had on your channel where that woman was doing a voodoo curse on Annabelle when they were taking her out of the van. Remember that?
Yeah, she said, "Go to hell, Annabelle." She kept saying that over and over. She was just basically chanting, like, "Go to hell, like, stay away from us." Okay. And that was in the French Quarter, actually, in New Orleans. So, wow. Really wild stuff. And I don't know. It just feels like there's so much more occult stuff going on around us. We're immersed in it, basically, whether we want to be or not. And that also includes some of these pop singers.
But here's the thing we need to consider, Jessica. All this stuff like this going on. This is what we see. What is it that we don't see is really going on in the background of this world? There's a lot of stuff we don't see. A lot of stuff that's being practiced and done in the shadows and in the darkness. And they're hiding these things from us. We are just seeing, let me put it this way. What we're talking about here today is just a very small, infinitesimal tip of a great and mighty big iceberg. And we can't, it's just like an iceberg. You don't see all of it, just that little bit sticking out of the water. And you're not seeing the whole big picture here. And that's what's going on with the things behind us in this world. And this is the way evil works and the way it does and accomplishes things. And people hook into this stuff to get things done. They get power, they get riches, they get whatever it is they want out of this. And they're looking for immortality too. They think they are little gods playing this game, okay? All the things that they want to get, and they don't really care how they get it, okay? And here's the thing, we were talking about this the other day. I think we did a show on this back a few weeks ago, but all these Hollywood stars now, they're coming out looking different all of a sudden.
Yeah.
They don't look the same. And it's not makeup now, okay? I mean, there's something else going on here. And some of them are getting older, and some of them are getting younger than they should be. What's going on with this, folks? Everything in this world, I'm sorry to say, is not what it appears to be. And we need to be wary of that, very wary of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And somebody that looks younger every day is Larry Sharp. Just kidding, Larry. Hey, Larry. Thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate you for being here. He said, "Happy Monday, y'all, and prayers." Yes, we all could use some prayers for sure. This is a really interesting subject today. And thank you so much, Larry. I do truly appreciate you. Okay. We've discussed Katy Perry. She keeps coming up. I don't know why this lady keeps coming up, y'all. She is just out there. They have definitely pushed her to the forefront when it comes to these, I want to say Illuminati or whatever. She's gone to space recently. She's and I say that jokingly, Dennis. Okay, but she was at a concert or she was performing at an event not too long ago. This was recent, and someone handed her a Labubu doll, and I want to show the audience what she did with this Labubu doll. Let's see if I can find it. It's down here at the bottom. Here she is. Somebody tried it. Well, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but somebody tried to hand her a Labubu doll at this moment right here. And she swiped it out of their hand and said, "No Labubus," on the microphone really loud. "No Labubus." Now, coming from a woman who is known for her very risque performances with a lot of satanic symbolism and Luciferian symbolism, okay, and being a member of the Illuminati, if you know what I mean, that's interesting that she would be so scared of a Labubu doll, Dennis. I mean, I remember when she went to court to fight some nuns about a monastery she was trying to buy. And people were saying that she put curses on those poor women. And one of them actually died in court. Now, this is all for entertainment purposes only, y'all. And it's very sad. But she seems to be very deep into the occult, Dennis.
Definitely.
What do you think?
You know, if it looks like a snake, crawls like a snake, hisses like a snake, it's definitely probably a snake, no matter which way you look at it. And eventually, evil gives itself away. It will overplay its hand, and you will see that what's on the inside shows up on the outside eventually. And these people, if you got too much darkness in you, Jessica, you can't contain it. Eventually, it gets out somehow or another, and it shows up in your performances like this, or it shows up in your song lyrics, whatever the situation. And this is a pitfall for entertainers because they're giving a lot of themselves away on the stage. And some of us, we need to be paying closer attention to what's really going on in this situation and what they're really up to. And I think without a doubt, and like I said before, I mentioned before the show that her father is a minister, by the way. He still is a minister in the church. I wonder what he thinks about all this stuff. There must be some very interesting family table discussion going on with this. But it is very strange. But here's the thing about her, and I will say this, and like I say, this is for entertainment purposes only. But she seems to have been brought up differently than this and has completely turned her back spiritually on the things that she may have been taught, and that's never good when you see somebody do that. Turn completely 180 degrees away from what they once were. You know what that sounds like?
Demonic selling possession. Your soul. Yeah. So, well, that's part of. Isn't that part of selling your soul? And they say that that's making. When people want to become famous, super famous, they make that transaction. They write their name in blood. We got another pop singer here. We got Miss Taylor Swift doing her, satanic bass kind of performances and whatnot as well. They say that these people, well, first of all, they're parts of, secret societies, Illuminati, the New World Orders and things like that. And I got to tell you, Dennis, there is an interesting man. He passed away back in 2011, but Ted Gunderson. Okay. He's an interesting fellow because he worked for the CIA, I think. Was it CIA or FBI? He said he went public. He passed away of cancer. Okay. But he went public talking about how he had investigated personally things like, the Oklahoma City bombing, the JFK assassination, Bobby Kennedy's assassination, the World Trade Center stuff. And he publicly said those were all huge cover-ups. He knew they were, and to take away like our constitutional rights and things like that. This is for entertainment purposes only, y'all. But he was talking about how the Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, the globalists, they're the people that were behind all this, and they have, and it all dovetails. He specifically said it all dovetails into the satanic movement. It all dovetails into the satanic movement. Now, this is all. It's all connected. Right?
Recently, I recently did a podcast on the very same thing. There's just the cursed bloodlines that are in this world, and this curse, by curse, we say they're really basically running into darkness. These bloodlines are running into the darkness or from the darkness of years down the line, and they have. And here's the bad thing about them: they have. It's one thing if you were to come to me tomorrow and say, "Dennis, my bloodline's cursed." And I don't want this. I don't want to live like this. I want to break this curse. And I say, well, good for you because you can do it if you want to. But you got to want to do it. But they're not that way, don't you see, Jessica? They have embraced that darkness. They want this. They want to be like this. because
Yep.
they're making money this way. They're getting power this way. Who knows what? God only knows what they're really getting out of this stuff. We don't. We only just seeing a little bit of what's really going on in the background of these people's lives. Uh, that's what it's all about. Do you embrace the darkness, or do you want to repel the darkness? You don't want it around you. And when you make that personal choice, things are going to happen one way or the other. You know, you either side with the angels or you're either going with the other team. That's it.
Yes. Well, I choose to side with the lighter side here. Okay. Because this is really dark, but you know, we like to shine light on the darkness. And so that's why we're talking about this today. And we need to make the connections here. And that's why we're talking about this today. If anybody's wondering, I know this is a little dark subject today, y'all. Okay. But a lot of people have these dolls. We start off talking about the dolls. They have these dolls. They just seem so friendly and not, you know, no threat. Okay. But they might be, but it's all part of a bigger agenda potentially. I'm not saying it definitely is. I'm just saying that it could be. And these are only my opinions and my thoughts, and Dennis here as well.
That's
Okay.
true. That's very true, Jessica. Definitely. You know, we can pull this stuff out of the darkness and the shadows and let everybody see what the truth is, but then you got to deal with that truth. Okay. You know, it's like Teddy Roosevelt said. It's one thing to know what's right. It's another thing to do what's right. You know, and once we know that the truth is out here and these things have been exposed, that's just part of the journey. That's just halfway through. Okay, that's just like they do with Alcoholics Anonymous. So you got to recognize you got a problem first, and then the problem's half solved when you do that. And that's what this problem is. When you got something in the darkness and hidden in the shadows, and you pull it out, that's part. But once we get it out, we need to deal with it. And not only just on a large scale, but on our personal lives as well, in our personal way we handle with these things. We've got to say, hey, you know, the power I have over this is the knowledge that I have about it. And now I've got to apply that knowledge. You know, I had a teacher that told me that many years ago. It's always stuck up here. And she said, now that you know, now that you have learned this, now you must apply it.
Yeah.
You must do it. Yeah, you got to go ahead and work on it that way. And that's what we need to do. We don't need to stop halfway when we do these things. But it's good that there are people like you out there trying to pull this stuff out of the darkness for people to see what it is, what it really truly is, you know, that's really going on. But it's another thing for them to do something about it. You know, you can't make them do anything, but that's the choice they got to make. And like we were talking about the cursed bloodlines, you either don't want it or you embrace it. You embrace that darkness or you fight it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, okay. Well, I'm shining a light on some of this today. You and I both, and there's a couple more things I wanted to shine light on before we move on to the government connections to witches and the remote influencing of foreign leaders and things like that. If you guys have ever had a liquid death water, please.
I've heard of it.
Maybe you need an exorcism.
I don't think I want to drink that, but
I don't know. There might need to be an exorcism involved here at this point. Okay, because I don't know if y'all are familiar with this. These are what they are. This is for entertainment purposes only again. But these are just, I thought they were just waters, but it looks like they've got flavors to them and liquid death. Well, okay, Dennis, this is no joke. This is for real, for real. They call in warlocks and witches into their warehouses. I have actually seen this on a documentary. They call in witches and warlocks into their warehouses and they perform rituals on it. I don't know if they're summoning demons. I'm not sure what they're doing. They're cursing all this water. They're literally cursing it, Dennis. And these are in these gigantic warehouses of liquid death is what it's called. And they're shipping this out all over the world and people are drinking it. What happens when somebody drinks that?
If I were going to throw a satanic party, I'd probably serve that. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect thing to serve, would it not?
Oh,
but let me say this, you know, that's very much like that weird story I told about that after midnight cafe in New Orleans, and they were selling a drink that was called the second death. Do you know what the second death is? That's when they throw you in the hell. That's the second death. Why would you want to drink something like that? Why would you? If somebody said, "Here, Dennis, here's a cup of the second death," I said, "I think I'll pass on it."
Yeah. Well, not only does water carry energy and memory. Thank you, Zarathi. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true.
And it does that.
I want to tell you something about water, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember this. Water is one of the most. Let me say this. I'm gonna blow everybody's mind here a little bit. Okay, one of the most spiritual things on this planet is water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we can change. You can change the frequency in the water, right? And so, I mean, putting like evil. We've seen those. What is that guy's name that did I can't remember his name, but he did like the experiments with the water where he spoke love into the water.
Conductor. It's a spiritual conductor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he spoke hatred into water and hate, and then versus love into water. You can see the molecules and everything changes. Even when it freezes, it all changes. The makeup of the water changes. And what are our bodies made of, y'all? Dennis, our bodies are made of majority water. Right. So that's why we have to be careful about what we speak over our own lives, what we speak over our children.
Now, I remember someone in the Bible saying, "I am the living waters." That's a very interesting thing there. Water is a very spiritual thing. Like I said, it's one of the most spiritual elements on this planet. Put it that way. Crystals can be another spiritual type thing. Guess what? It's almost like, condensed water to a certain degree, the way it's compressed, pressed, and all that. But where do you get baptized at? You get baptized. You don't get baptized in sand. You get baptized in water. Okay, folks, that's what we're looking at here, definitely. And if you were to take something and make it like name it liquid death and supposedly say some incantations over it and all that, why are you doing that? You got to ask the big question here. Why? Why do we need that? Because it is what again? Demonic manipulation. That's what you got. Just like with these dolls we're talking about, a lot of other things out there, a lot of these shows you see on stage, a lot of these songs you hear, a lot of these movies, a lot of these video games, the list goes on and on and on and on. This is demonic manipulation. Pure and simple.
It is. I'm with Colleen, y'all. Let's all go out and buy some smart water. Okay. Buy smart water. Buy things that are going to make you feel better and I'm not saying it's going to make it. That is good water, though, I think. I mean, I don't know. I hadn't done any testing on it or whatever, but I'm just saying it's way better than liquid death.
I actually did a tutorial on how to make your own holy water, and I had a lot of people coming up and asking, "Can I drink it?" I said, No, that's not a good idea. It's not for consumption, okay? It's outside purposes and not on the inside. But maybe they need to come out with something like that, sort of an equivalent against the liquid death.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Well, I guess I'll go ahead and say this. Yeah. Well, I was actually, I went to the Taoist temple in Atlanta, recently, and I received a blessing over there. It was really nice. I met a lot of really great people, and a good friend of mine goes there pretty often. And so, anyways, I left there with some blessed water, and she was telling me, because I wasn't feeling so
great. That's what holy water
mm-hmm.
is, Jessica. Blessed water. That's essentially what it is. What does it have? A few little ingredients. It has salt, blessed salt, maybe a drop of blessed oil, and it can have rosemary in it. It can have different type of ingredients in that. But I would not advise drinking it.
Yeah, well, I took a little sip of it. She told me to. Okay, but anyways, I did. It did. Listen, just having that water, and so it 100% made me feel better. Okay, and that's even just use it any way you choose, right? That is good to have in your arsenal against negativity and bad spirits and things like that. And just if you're not feeling great, I think it changes your frequency and your vibration. Honestly, I mean that's just what it did for me. And so I love it. So anyways, I highly recommend everyone having some blessed water on hand and put it in a spray bottle and spray yourself with it. Okay. Do what you got to do, y'all. And yes, definitely filter your water as well and pray over your water and your food. Definitely. For sure. Yeah. Thank you, Chicky Blue.
Well, mainly, back in medieval times, prayers and blessing over food, or as we say in the South, we call it blessing our food. And it is a blessing, sort of per se, but it was originally done to keep anybody from poisoning you. Okay, because that was the number one way to get rid of somebody. You put poison in their food, and supposedly blessed food would nullify the poison in it or the bad intentions or witchcraft spells that may have been put on it or whatever the situation. It's very important, like we said at the beginning of this program, what you take, what you possess, what someone gives you. Make sure that it's on the up and up and something that's not going to harm you spiritually or physically. Definitely, like poison would do.
Mhm.
You don't want that. You doesn't want that. So you need to be on guard about that, though, and be very careful around some people because although they may smile in your face, they may at the same time be sticking a knife in your back.
Lord, do I know that? That's the truth. That's God's truth right there. And Hans Barato, hello. He says, is it a coincidence that Four Locos? What are you doing drinking those, man? Just saying. No judgment. It's a no judgment zone. Okay. 660 calories per can. You better stop drinking those. Maybe, I don't know. They will make you loco. Okay. That's something I brought this up. This is a great point because Monster energy drinks as well. Those Monster drinks, they have, isn't like the Hebrew number for like
Well,
six
here's the bad
on
thing
those
about
cans?
that. I want to caution everyone about that because if you don't overload yourself with caffeine, it can, badly affect your heart sometimes. If you're not careful, that's not a good idea to go way overboard with the caffeine.
Yeah, be careful with all that sugar and caffeine. Those things will make your heart mess up, y'all. You gotta be careful. They have the ability to do that. So yeah, Machete says, yeah, a logo is nothing different than a magical sigil, just like with the Monster drinks, the 666, right? It's like a sigil or whatever. And so just be mindful of what you ingest, y'all, and like what kind of container it comes out of. And I mean, I've started going to the spring. My mom and I both. We are drinking spring water out of a mountain where you go get it directly. Okay, not even drinking anything out of a tap or whatever. We're going directly to the mountain spring up in North Georgia and getting our water now. Okay, I highly recommend that if you have access to that, y'all go do that. Okay.
It's like, we were talking about this the other day, and I asked you this question. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not superstitious." I'm not super. I'm scientific. I'm not superstitious. What if you came to my motel and I gave you room 666? Would you like to sleep in it? Would you be okay with that?
To me, well, it just depends on the energy I get because 666 is not a bad number, but when it's it's got a spiritual meaning to it in a good way, but it's been corrupted as well. So I don't know.
But it would still be in your mind that, hey, maybe, this is not going to work out too good. And that's just the way these things work. Let me tell you something about black witchcraft and black magic, okay? It is a mind manipulation thing, too, to a certain degree, okay? That's why people, they label some of this stuff the way they do, like witches brew and all this stuff. They're playing a little game with your mind here, folks. Okay, and that's word manipulation, and that is part of black magic. Because if, we talked about this before, if I were going to put a death curse on you, I would certainly let you know that I'm doing it. Because then it begins to work on you mentally. And it can become what? Self-fulfilling. And that's what I'm hoping it'll do to you if I'm doing that to you, okay? And that's just the way these things work. They work on your mind, so be careful with that, what your mind thinks.
Exactly. And I was pretty upfront telling the audience a while back that someone did send me a picture of a dead chicken being used in a ritual a while back. And I knew exactly what they were doing. And it was no accident that they did that.
If it had been real serious, they would have sent the actual dead chicken.
Yeah.
And not just but that was a hint. That was a hint. That was, that hey, but they were trying to play a little mind game with you.
I knew what they were doing, and I knew who did it. So I know. Listen, I'm a remote viewer. I know things. Y'all think y'all are slick. Okay. But anyways, and I got a team, man. We're like, you get a mystery, if you want it solved, send it to remote viewers, a whole team of them. Okay. So anyways, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. It was not intimidating whatsoever, but that's what they meant to do, because we're very powerful. Our minds are very powerful. And sometimes, you know, if you, especially if you have very strong spiritual protection up and energetic protection, people can't really get to you. Things bounce off of you. Spells bounce off of you. If your vibrational frequency is high, things can't touch you. Okay. But you can, the only person that can sabotage you is yourself. And so that's when you have a mind that wanders a little bit. You know, you gotta have a strong mind when it comes to these spiritual attacks, because people will. It takes one little tiny seed planted in your head, and you know you can sabotage yourself.
Also, too, it's very, very important. I'm talking about this with monster hunting. Okay, you know, we go out looking for dark entities sometimes. We don't know how dark some of these entities may be. And we as monster hunters, we need to understand we've got to not only be ready physically for these things, but also spiritually as well. I was talking to Cryptid Warfare about this just last night. We've got to be prepared spiritually, and that means keeping ourselves as pure as heart as personal as possible that we can be. We've got to be as pure of heart and have our mind focused on what it needs to be and not on the wrong stuff. We got to have it focused to what we're doing, and that makes us much better monster hunters. That makes us much better people, period. And it keeps that darkness away from us, and that's what we need to really concentrate on. And if we make ourselves, we can really psych ourselves up spiritually. You know, I'm not going to say we're going to be superheroes. We're going to be in a good position. We're going to be in a very good position, and a position we need to be in.
Yes. Retro Band, I'm going to come back to that question in just a second. Yes, and I like this. Brooke says, if you haven't done dark, evil things, it's harder for them to curse you. Absolutely. You know, if you have a pure heart, you're not going out hurting people and seeking revenge.
Here's the thing I talked about that before, Jessica. Okay, darkness of this world wants to hook up with the darkness in you that's already there. Okay. And we all know that human nature, we have a darker side to us, okay? And that's why I said about the pure heart thing that you want to try to remember, because you're keeping that darkness in check. You're keeping it where it needs to be. You're keeping the beast at bay. You're keeping that animal, that monster inside of you down. And if the darkness on the outside hooks up to that darkness, then it can take you over. That's the way it works, okay? But if you are, if you break that chain reaction and don't let the darkness from the outside hook up with the darkness in you, that's the main thing. Then you're in a much better position. You still control yourself. And that's what demonic possession is all about. That darkness overwhelms you, takes possession of you, and it owns you.
Yes. And that's where it's important for people to know and understand your dark side, to deal with your shadow side, and to embrace it. Okay, you got it. That's how you fight the dark, is to know the dark. Okay, I'm just saying that's a little secret from the Cryptid Huntress.
You know what it is. You got to know and recognize what it is, and that helps you control it. Okay, it's just like you would say this. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say I've got a bad habit of eating French fries. Okay, and I know French fries are bad for me and they're not good for me. And if I stop eating the French fries, I got control over the French fries, right? I got control over them. Okay, I'm in a good position. And then you got to do that with the darkness in you. That's the way it works. And if that darkness in you becomes too great and it fills you up more with darkness than light, you got a bad problem going on there. See, you got a bad problem. But as long as you got more light, positive goodness in you, then it keeps that darkness exactly where you need it, under your foot, under control. That's how we need to work. We need to always strive to do that. But here's the thing about black magic. It wants to hook up with that darkness in you. It recognizes that darkness and makes it stronger in you so that it activates and starts taking over and starts doing stuff in your life and doing bad things to you. That's that shadow thing that they're doing with you. And you don't want to ever get in that position. That's why you need to fight this black magic.
Yes.
You got to fight it.
I think one of the enemy's biggest mistakes is underestimating your dark side. I'm just saying, some of us have a dark side. Okay, you got to have dark to know the light. I'm just saying, you got to have a good balance, and that's where people get underestimated sometimes, because some of us do know our dark side, just like we know our light side. Okay, Jamie has a question also, and she says, "How do we protect ourselves from attachments while combating spiritual warfare?" Dennis.
But in order, Jessica, in order for us to be in a good position, we must have more of the light on our side against that darkness. That's the way we control that darkness. Okay. If we don't overwhelm it with light, that's what we got to do. And that's why you want to, keep your heart as pure as possible, your intentions as good as possible, your thoughts positive. And that's what keeps this dark loose at bay, and keeps us where you need to control it, where it needs to be. And if you don't, then you've got a problem. You're going to have a bad problem.
Yes. Jamie, just keep your vibration high. Okay, keep your vibrational frequency high, and just stay in the light. Stay in the light. Okay, and
you can't. Unfortunately, here's the thing you got to remember too, and I got to say this: you can't use the darkness to control the darkness. They don't work that way. You got to use the light to control the darkness. That's the way it works,
Yeah.
Because darkness is not going to work against itself, in that respect. That's like, I talked about, the very famous Constantine. I like the guy, but I don't like his techniques. He uses darkness to fight darkness. That's never a good idea. They just don't usually come out and work, as a good, viable thing. You got to use light against the darkness. That's the way you control it. That's the way you put it where it needs to be. That's very important.
That's right. And I appreciate this. Ms. Chetty says self-reflection is very, very beneficial. Absolutely. And that's how we combat the demons within. Okay. The dark side within as well. Okay. Well, speaking of demons within, okay. I don't know if I showed this or not earlier. I can't remember, but I just wanted to, we covered the liquid death. Also some other children's toys, and I'm just going to say these are like children's toys, and they're kind of targeted towards like the older kids. But of course, my child, when he was like 10, he wanted some of these toys, and so he talked about Bendy the Ink Demon. Okay, stuff like this is like what's being promoted towards our kids. You've got to be careful with this. This is a demon too, by the way, and that's actually like an action figure of it. It looks innocent, kind of, but when you start watching I think it's a video game maybe. And there's other people like, because YouTube is a big thing for kids now. Okay, not everybody has Disney. Most people have internet. And so there are kids that will get on and watch things like, God, there's some family that goes to Disney all the time. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like family with like 2 boys and a girl. And they take trips. The kid, my son used to love watching them. And I had to start watching them because they were doing things like playing this Bendy the Ink Demon stuff all the time. And I was like, well, that's not good for children. And they're sponsored by Disney, by the way. But this is like the demonic Mickey Mouse, basically, is the way I took it. Okay, it's like a demonic Mickey kind of, the way they were promoting it. Yeah, Mickey's already not good. So.
Like I said a few minutes ago, just if it looks like a snake, crawls like a snake, hisses like a snake, my gosh, it must be a snake, That's only logical to think, okay? And if it looks demonic, does demonic things, acts demonic, then it must be demonic, okay? That's just the way you gotta look at it.
Okay. Well, let's get into the CIA declassified document that I wanted to talk about today. And this is, there's a group, okay, there's a program, I guess it's within our government, some kind of like, I don't know if it's like a mind control program or what, but it's called Often, OFTEN. They contracted astrologer Sybil Leek. Now, I don't think astrology is bad. I actually study astrology myself. Okay. And if you don't think that the people in our governments and the world leaders are not using astrology, you're wrong. Okay. So anyways, but they contracted astrologer. She's actually a witch too. Okay.
Well, here's
Sybil Leak.
Here's one thing we got to, yeah, that's a witch, definitely. That's a big one there, too. Anyway,
Oh God.
she's quite hefty, definitely.
Oh man.
I wonder how she gets the crow to stay on there. It's
Every
time for
picture
her
of
head.
her has crows, by the way. Every picture I could find. Here, let me share my screen. Do you know about Sybil Leak? Sybil Leak?
Here's something we gotta remember about the government here, okay? And I just want to say this before we get into this, okay? And that's this. No matter what kind of stuff, the witchcraft or whatever it is they're up to, demonology, we got to remember one thing that's very important about the government. It has very bad intentions, folks, okay? So none of this is going to come out good. It has very bad intentions, okay?
It definitely does. It does. Now, these are, I'm just sharing the screen right. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I'm sharing the screen right now just to show you what she looks like.
Sybil Leak, I know her well, yeah.
Okay, well, she's from the UK, I believe, right? She was an English astrologer. She wrote a lot of books on witchcraft, as you can see right here. That's why I wanted to show this. Okay, so our government literally contracted her to pay her.
She was a personal friend to Hans Holzer, the very first, very well-known ghost hunter. Hans Holzer. I used to love to read his books. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me stop sharing that screen, and we're going to talk about her and Michael Aquino. Okay, and you guys are familiar with him. This is the fella who was in our military, and I believe he was the head of the Church of Set. He might have been the founder of it. I believe that's him with Anton LaVey, and who is that? Sammy Davis Jr. Big surprise. I don't know. That's wild. But nonetheless, this was him. So they were contracted. Satanist Michael Aquino and Sybil Leak were who they were. Hold on. So he was a U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel, actually, Aquino. They were contracted to, I guess, do experiments or spells or something like that. They described experiments in, this is in the CIA document, okay? And if you want reference, it's CIA-RDP7-00999-00999A00030010001-5. Okay, this is it. It says that they described experiments in projected malevolence where occult practitioners attempted to curse foreign leaders. 3 targets died within 6 months under mysterious circumstances. The project noted correlation, but not proven causation. The Houston experiments were next level. The CIA partnered with local covens to test remote biological influence. Witches would perform rituals targeting bacteria cultures in sealed containers 50 miles away. Lab results showed 23% increased bacterial death rate in targeted samples. The technical report called it non-local consciousness effect on biological systems. They called it magic. Here's what is still classified. The often OFT and discovered that certain bloodlines showed enhanced paranormal capability. They created a secret database tracking families with history of psychic abilities, paying particular attention to those claiming descent from Salem witch trial survivors. Documents fragments reference Project MKOFTEN, MKOFTEN-bloodline, and hereditary consciousness factors. They were breeding psychic super soldiers. It sounds like the Montauk Project. Okay. The program officially ended in 1973, but former Often psychic James Heydrich resealed in 1981 that it continued under corporate contracts. I guess he revealed. I typed a C instead of a V. So it continued on under corporate contract, just so the government looked like they had wiped their hands of it, but they didn't. Private military contractors now employ anomalous warfare specialists, job listing requiring demonstrated remote influence capabilities, occasionally appear on classified contractor sites. They're not looking for drone pilots. They're recruiting corporate witches for consciousness warfare. Wow, Dennis, can you believe that? I can. I know they got a remote viewing program, so they're interesting things taught to people under this label right here, under that program. And we do know about the Montauk Project and all these different secret projects they got going on, but this seems pretty mild compared to some of the other programs they've worked on. in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they actually were also doing a lot. They were actually doing a lot of stuff, research with the space program, and they're trying to get astronauts to psychically lower their blood pressure and heart rates and stuff like that by just simply using mind exercises and stuff like that. That's part of what Montauk, I think, was also interested in too, a
Yes.
little bit of it. But interesting thing, matter of fact, I saw a declassified document not long ago where they had a remote viewer. Actually, here's an Indiana Jones vibe for you, Jessica.
Okay.
They actually had a remote viewer looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and he actually supposedly found it, but
Yeah.
he never could see it. It was in a container, and he didn't see into the container what it was, but he said there was something in this container emanating power from it. Wow. Anyway, we do not know. That's just what we know. Like we said earlier in the program, that's just a little small tip of the iceberg. Who knows what they've been doing with this stuff and how long? Just like that one told me that time, we want people that have these abilities. We're looking to recruit people that, have special talents. That's what he said. Special talents. And definitely, like the movie Men Who Stare at Goats and all this stuff. They are definitely deep into this stuff. We don't know how deep. I'm gonna tell you something about these alphabet companies. Okay, that includes the FBI, CIA, the NRA, and all. Let me say this: what you see publicly on the outside is just a facade of what really, truly goes on behind this stuff. Would blow our minds. Okay, definitely. To get into that stuff, there's still a leak again, but. Talk about mind blowing. But to tell you the truth, that's what they're interested in, and they're using these things. But like I said a few minutes ago, it's got bad intentions behind it. It's not usually good stuff that they're doing. They're not using remote viewers to try to find something to help people. It's not going that
Sometimes.
way. No, they're not.
Well, they're weaponized, just like everything. Everything is weaponized, Dennis. That is no secret. Everything is weaponized, and yes, they are super soldiers. What they call them in Project Stargate is Project Jedi. A bunch of Jedis, right? As remote viewers and stuff. And I am a remote viewer myself, trained in the same methods as these people. And yes, the things that you see in that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, that's real. And actually, I think one of the differences is actually. They say that they were trying to make the goats pass out, but actually, what I was told was they were making the goats die. Okay, so they didn't actually just faint.
Or make them pass
worse.
out, faint. Yeah, they were making them faint. Yeah.
Yes. So to bring it full circle, it's like the power of the mind is very, very strong, very real, and we are limitless beings in many ways. But for them to be doing experiments with so-called witches, is what they called it, because it was like magic. They're calling them witches. They were doing experiments where they were trying to remote influence world leaders and killing them.
Here's something we gotta remember. We call everything witches. By the way, we're very bad about that. If you're a root doctor, you're a witch. If you're a granny witch, there's that name, granny witch, okay? It can't be something nice, okay? Because it has, just like the wolf we've talked about so many times, the wolf gets a bad name on everything. I love wolves. I think they're some of the most beautiful, magnificent animals on this planet. But they have, with some people, they have a very dark and evil reputation, which I think is not deserved at all, okay? But anyway, that's the same thing with witches, okay? Just because you may be different, and I'm not saying you're out there practicing black magic trying to stop somebody's heart from beating, but if you're different, they label you that way, okay? And we do know that skinwalkers are usually inherently evil, okay? But if I were going to be a skinwalker, I would want to turn into a crow just to go hang out with the crows and see what they were doing. I would be doing good stuff. I wouldn't be doing evil stuff, okay? So there may be some skinwalkers out there that are not evil for all we know, Okay. There may be some witches, definitely, without a doubt, that are not out there practicing black and evil magic. But they don't get the publicity, folks. It's just like the news. You never hear anybody, a reporter say, well, and the good news today, and you never hear that. You always hear about the bad news. Okay. And that's the way this goes too. And that goes with the government as well, because most of the time, unfortunately, what the government is doing is never good. It's bad. And that's what you hear about, especially all these weird projects, moon dust and MK Ultra and all these other things. And here's what really gets me about it. They like this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not just they saying, oh, we're trying to do this to help everybody out. No. They've got all the wrong intentions to do this stuff with. It's just like, okay, let me say this. And I'm not trying to brag on you here, okay? But let's say you are a good remote viewer and you're helping people. Maybe you're trying to find missing people, or you're gonna find my missing watch for me. That would be neat, or something like that. That's good. You're helping somebody, okay? But what if I wanted to say, well, Jessica, I need you to find this person in Russia and stop his heart?
Yeah.
Or do something, that's not good. Okay. So that means that if you do that, if you cooperate with that, then you're not a good person. Okay. And that's why I turned them down when they wanted me to just, no, thank you. I got other things to do. Because for two reasons. One, I'm sorry, I'm just not that evil. Okay. And two, the only way you usually get out of the company is through the morgue. Okay, that's usually the only way out. Because listen, once you start working for these guys, whatever government thing it is, okay, you know too much. And guess what? When you know too much, what happens to you?
They clone you, or they get rid of you. Right? Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that all boils down to, I saw a question in the chat. Said, Jessica, do you teach remote viewing? I can. Yes, I can. Do I? No, I don't. When I learned it, it was years ago, I'm almost 15 years ago, I guess, something like that. And I have only taught one person who did amazing, by the way. He picked it up immediately, and it was great. I can teach it, but see, that's the thing. I was vetted by my friend who taught me pretty deeply. Okay. I had to get to know this person, and we built a trust between each other before he ever taught me and the people that learned with me. Because of what you said.
There's an old saying that the teacher is only as good as his student.
Right.
So if you got a good student, it usually comes out good,
Well, there's that fine line right there of like what you can do with these powers. It's like with much power comes much responsibility, right? And if somebody has evil intentions, you can do a lot of bad in this world when you have remote viewing skills. And so it's, if I were to teach the type of remote viewing that I do, if I were to teach it, I would have to know you personally and to know your intentions and things like that before I would ever teach it. But that's just because of karmic purposes, in my opinion, in my life. I don't want that, whatever you do is going to affect me.
You never want to be it's responsible for empowering some person in the wrong way. And that's what I've had a lot of people come to me over the years like that, Jessica. Tell me about demons. Tell me all what you know about this, black magic, the occult, and all this stuff. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, you're a little bit too obsessed here. That's not healthy. That's not the way you take this. You got to do it in a scholarly way. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, Dennis, have you ever been tempted to do this stuff? Dabble in this black magic, do all this stuff. I said, well, yeah, everybody gets tempted. But I'm not going to walk that far into the darkness, because if you go too far into the darkness, you don't come back. That's just the way it works. You become the darkness. It swallows you up and eats you up alive, and you don't ever want to get in a position, no matter who you are. And I wouldn't want to send anybody into that position. And just like you're saying, you wouldn't want to teach somebody and have them come out the wrong way on that. You don't want to do that. Knowledge, let me tell you this, folks, and I'll shut up. Knowledge is very powerful, okay? But it's also how you apply that knowledge that tells the story. And if you have a talent, whatever it may be, just like Jessica's talent is remote viewing, whatever, then you have a responsibility whether you do good or evil with that, because that's what you are. That tells you exactly what kind of a person you are. And if you're going to be a good person, you're going to use it the good way. But if you're going to be bad, it's just like a hammer. I can build you a house or bust your head open with it and commit murder. That's not the hammer's fault. Whose fault is it? Mine. I'm the one doing it. Okay. And that's why a lot of people about guns. Guns. Oh, they're evil. No, they're not. They're inanimate objects. They have no morals. It's the hand or the mind behind it that you gotta, hold into account. And that same thing goes with talents, whether they be psychic or any other talents, like drawing or whatever they may be. What your intentions are with them is what you will answer for one day.
That's Absolutely. Right. And I want to make it clear, I'm not gatekeeping in any ways, y'all. Okay. It's my personal choice. I have chosen not to teach remote viewing. Okay. I don't even claim to be an expert at it. I just love doing it. Okay. And maybe one day I will, but it would, there are plenty of places where people can go learn remote viewing. It's just, I personally am not teaching it. And I would have to get to know someone before I would ever teach them what I know. Okay. And so that's what I'm saying, y'all. Okay. So thank you for that question though. I appreciate it. And thank you, Skip, too, for that super sticker. I appreciate you. I will forgive you this once for being late. Okay. So I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here, Skip. You're awesome. I do appreciate you. But Maureen, you're right. People do use remote viewing for bad purposes. And, I don't like the idea of somebody like, I have a lot of people that turn on me, Dennis, for some crazy reason. It seems like just about everybody, they get to know me and they're cool. We're cool. And then at some point, I don't know, I got a lot of people that'll turn on me and it's just weird. And so I've learned to like keep people at arm's length, even my friend, I hate to say this, but even friends, because eventually I'm like, they're going to turn on me for no reason. Racially, there's some reason, but I just don't understand it. And so, even with friends, it's like, I just have to see their heart and where they're at before I would teach anybody like that. Okay. So anyways, we can move on from that, y'all. But anyways, it's an interesting topic, y'all. But nonetheless, our government has employed witches. They still do it, apparently. And whether they're actually getting our tax money or if they're, and I think they are, even if they go into like a private company, they're probably still getting all that money funneled to them to do things like remote influencing world leaders and any kind of enemies. Okay. Like I know from my training in remote viewing that remote viewers have been used to locate people who have been kidnapped, let's just say, like people who are being held like prisoners of war or any kind of terrorist groups, whatever. And remote viewers are actually used to not only locate where those people are being held, but to get inside their heads and actually talk to them to make sure they're okay and ask questions about who's holding them. All that kind of stuff is 100% possible. And so I know they do that. Okay. And that's what I do with when it comes to the deep mind probes that I do whenever I locate a human or a consciousness in the environment. When I'm remote viewing, I'm able to talk to that person. And so it's actually a wonderful tool to have when you are trying to save lives. Okay, so it's not all bad, y'all. It's not bad, but it can be used for bad, probably. So, what you think, Dennis?
I think so too. It's just like anything else, it can be used good or bad. And you can also, you can sell out for the money and all that stuff too sometimes, and it's not good too. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing with the government. I think they've got way too much money. Okay, they got too much money and time to do these kind of things. And and here's the bad thing about it: they're supposed to be working for us, and they seem to disregard that as well. And the very fact that we elect people to do stuff, and they seem to like it's like two governments. One is going along, doing what's supposed to do, and the other one's saying, hey, I'm not going to even worry about the other guys. We're going to do our own thing, no matter what it is. And those are the dangerous guys, folks. They've got way too much money, too much time, too much things that they can do and get into and weaponize that they want to mess around with. So I think that's where the problem comes in. Definitely got too much money. They got more money than you and I, Jessica, will ever know, okay? Absolutely. And they waste more than you and I will ever know about. Trust me. That's the way it goes. And I think that will be our problem. For as long as they get this money, they will have power that goes with it over these things. And they're operating against us. They're not operating for the citizens of this country. They're operating against. And that's why we have to say it's a sad fact that your government is not your friend. It should be, because you own the government. You pay their salaries. You put them there. You're the boss, but they disregard that. And they're actually disrespecting you on a great level that way. And they're going to say, we're going to do what we want to do, and regardless of what you want, That's not good. That's what makes them enemies and not friends.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not only the government. We're talking about big corporations as well, because, I mean, our world is run by big corporations, and there's just a few of them, right? And I'm not saying it's just corporations, but governments, corporations, there's a big old triangle. Y'all know what I mean? And so there's just I'm going to say an attack, okay, a barrage, an attack on our souls. Okay. I mean, it is what it is when it comes to our spiritual nature and us just being humans in our everyday lives. It's in every part of our everyday lives almost, especially if you're watching television, if you're consuming, toys. And I don't mean like eating toys. I mean like just buying stuff, even for our kids, commercials, everything's not, and it may not be everything, but a lot of stuff is definitely put out there to lower our vibrations, to keep us in a spell, under a spell, Dennis, dare I say, kind of under a spell to just not be alive. And I don't mean like be dead, but like mentally maybe, but to not live and in the capacity that we as humans are meant to live. That's my thought.
Absolutely. These corporations definitely very much like the government. They have a disregard for the public. They're only using us. They're manipulating us to make their money and to get their power that they want. And they not only got money, they're getting power over us because they can manipulate our very lives by saying, "Oh, you got to have this doll." Your kids are going to worry you to death until you buy this doll from them. That's part of the thing, and they don't care what that doll does to your kids. They really don't. They care as long as they get your money for that doll. Okay, that's what it's all about. And when anybody's ever operating at that kind of a efficiency, you got to be very leery of them. Just like the government we were talking about just now. And I think that's one. I'll say this right quick about remote viewing. The very downside of it is, and you know what I'm about to say, is the dangerous aspects of it, because the government definitely has a way to filter out outside remote viewers, and they can really do a job on you if they want to. They can, because they are hiding secrets. They are hiding stuff that are very essential to them, and that puts you as an outside remote viewer in incredible danger if you're not careful and know how to handle it. Because if you don't, they could unalive you very quickly or do something very bad to you just because you happen to accidentally look into something they didn't want you to see. They've got, without a doubt, they're guarding their secrets well, because that's where their power lies, folks. They're not going to share their power with you. They're not going to give you their secrets. You hear this all the time about disclosure. You're never going to get disclosure, not the real disclosure from these guys, not voluntarily, okay? You're not going to get it. Shows like this may pull it out for you to see, but it's not voluntary, okay? And they're not going to do that because that means they would have to share their power with you. Their power is in their darkness and secrets. And that's where it's at. And they're not going to do that. No.
Yes. Secret societies. That's a big one, actually. And I don't know if y'all enjoyed my my thumbnail for this show today and this is so funny. I made these late last night. My dog kept me up last night, y'all. She had a little tummy ache, so I kept having to take her out all night. And so I stayed up late making this artwork for you guys, just for y'all. These are these Labubus in a satanic ritual right there. I mean, it's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. And I just think it's wild that the world has come to this. You know, The Simpsons predicted it basically, and here we are talking about demonic dolls. Okay.
Let's say one thing about that, Jessica. Think how very much Labubu sounds like voodoo.
It
You notice
does,
that?
and Pazuzu, the demon, as well. It does. It all sounds similar. I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of demons have weird names like that. Like they have like double. It sounds like I hate to say demons' names. Gosh, this is the last thing I want to say on my show today. But like Zozo, I think is one of them too. So it's like double words. If y'all know what I mean, like Zuzu, Boo Boo. I don't know. There's something to it here, and yeah, I found this online. I don't know who to give credit to for this thing, but let's see. It's talking about. Let me read this. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. And they say this spiritual battle underscores the importance of being vigilant and providing a foundation of faith, love, and protection for children and even ourselves.
Something very important we need to remember, though, about this, Jessica, and it's a very old saying: secure the future, and you will own the present. And I think these guys are going after the children because they are the future. And if you own if you secure the future, you will own the present. And I think this is definitely something that they're actively trying to do in many ways. And even the Church of Satan knows this. A lot of these groups know this as a fact. And it does not surprise me at all because we see. Here's the really bugs me. Okay, and I know it bugs you. You're a mother, definitely.
Yes.
That
Oh yeah.
This is actually an assault upon your child. That's what it is.
Yes.
They are actually actively working against your child in every way possible. That's not good. That's not good to do children that way. What's wrong with these guys? You know?
Well, it's evil. It's just evil. And but I mean, there is an attack on our children. We have to protect our children at all costs. Protect your children at all costs. And so I don't know. So I guess I won't be getting any Labubu dolls. They are cute. Okay, they kind of look like little cryptids with sharp, pointy teeth. But there may be a little something more to it. Even if there is an inkling of these things being demonic, I'm just or holding a dark entity. I'm not bringing it into my house. And that's the thing, Dennis. Like, what if? Okay, and this may not come out today, but like maybe down the road, what if we find out that just like the Liquid Death warehouse, where they have these warlocks and these witches casting spells on all the boxes of water. And this is not just allegedly. I've seen a documentary about this. And even, oh, by the way, I forgot to show the audience this. This is Martha Stewart. Okay, this is that's not Martha Stewart. Sorry, wrong one. This is Martha Stewart. I don't know if this is AI or this is real, but this is a candle of Liquid Death by Martha Stewart. Like, tell me that's not real. Oh my gosh, I hope it's not. But she's part of the Illuminati, probably for entertainment purposes only. But we just have to be mindful of what y'all buy, okay, and what we do, what you buy and what goes into it. Because if they're in a big warehouse casting spells on all these Labubus, people are in trouble.
I was going to tell you a little story about Sybil Leek right quick. She was quite a character, okay? Sybil Leek was definitely, she started out as an astrologer, but then got into the witch thing, I think, big time. But there's a story. Now, whether this is true or not, okay? This is entertainment purposes only, okay? That her last dying words were, "Hold my beer, I'll be right back."
Oh, gosh. That's actually kind of funny, actually. That's funny. I can only hope that I can say my last words would be something funny like that. But
I always wondered, did she come back? Maybe she's a cat.
Oh my God. I don't know how many times I've heard that just before a terrible disaster happened. Okay. It sounds like something my dad would have said. My dad used to say stuff like that. Okay. He still does. He doesn't drink beer anymore, but he used to definitely say that. And that's actually pretty funny. Okay. So, and somebody had asked earlier, Dennis, are all witches are not bad, right? I mean, I've been called a witch because of the remote
Oh,
viewing stuff before. Okay. And
I, um, I had a friend one time. She was a very beautiful witch, and she was very nice. She was a very good friend to me, although we did not ideally get along too good, belief wise.
yeah.
We respected each other, and so I was, very good friends with her. I still am. I haven't seen her in a long time. She was very nice. So yes, what we said earlier in the show is what your intentions are behind this. And when you put out stuff like Liquid Death or Labubu dolls or whatever the situation, what is your real true intention? That's the question, the most important question we need to ask here today. What is your real true intention about this? Is it just to make money and you don't care how you do that? And that's not good. Okay, that's not a good way to be. Or is this something else? You have a darker ulterior motive for this behind it. That's what really bothers me. And if you do, and let me say this: where there's smoke, there's definitely got to be some fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Speaking of where smoke, there's fire. Belinda, this is really interesting. I knew that Martha Stewart had gone to prison for stock trading or something like that in Clonade. I didn't know it was Clonade. Okay. I'm going to have to look that up after the show because that just brings a whole new level into all this. Oh, man. That's wow right there. That's interesting. And so thank you for that comment. I will definitely be looking into that. And, Ascent of Phoenix, I don't know. I might be a time traveler. I don't know because I did hear my voice say time travel in the woods one
Well,
night. So
I
who
don't
knows?
really feel that she was interested in clone. I think she was just wanting to make money and didn't care what it is. But it was cloning. I remember that. And that's the intention of a lot of these people, like Nancy Pelosi and some of these other ones who play the stock market. And I think they have definitely insider information. She just happened to get caught and was made, I think, an example of. And let me say something about that. The darkness in this world will do that every once in a while. It'll turn on one of its own, put it out there, just so they can make an example of it and say, hey, we did this, we let them go, we're okay, it's them, they're the bad guys. They sort of doing this to distract you from what's really going on, and it's what it is. And Jessica, when it comes to stuff like these dolls and things like that, we got to remember this too. Evil is very good in not only deceit and deception, but distraction as well.
Well, they're agents of chaos, right? It's all about the chaos. These are look at this. I forgot I had this picture too. This is weird, y'all. I'm sorry. No shade to this fella. He really loves Labubu, but they're doing like makeup and stuff on TikTok. I mean, that's creepy. That is kind of creepy a little bit. Okay. But like Jamie said earlier, Furby dolls were kind of weird and it would turn on by itself. And we've all had weird, scary dolls. I mean, this fella's even got some fronts. He's got some gold teeth right there, silver teeth, platinum teeth of Labubus in his mouth. Man, that is some dedication to Labubu right there. That demonic mouth. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So Lizzie, that's a great question. Do you mean all Labubu dolls selling in the shops and malls are bad? No, I'm not saying that. But I wouldn't bring one in my house probably just because there is, we do believe some people, there's a huge craze going on right now. People are saying that they are possessed dolls. Okay. And does that mean they are? Absolutely not. They may not be, but they could be. Okay. And we're just connecting the dots today, connecting the dots to all the consumers out there. And don't be sending me Labubu dolls, y'all. Okay, just don't. Please don't. Please don't. I know. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm so conflicted on it, Dennis. I'm so conflicted because they are so cute. They say they're really expensive too, though. Okay. Actually, let me pull up. Let me take that comment down. We're gonna pull the screen up, and we're gonna see how much these things cost because I think I have it on my screen. Some of them are like $800. Okay. Labubu dolls on DuckDuckGo. Let's see. Let's go shopping. Okay. I think this is okay to show on here today. Okay. Can y'all see that? $485 right off the bat. Pop Mart Labubu. $250. Some of them are cheap. They say that some of them actually are knockoffs, I guess. But I mean, they're so cute, Dennis. They're so cute. Let me see if I can find some more prices up here.
They kind of look like evil Teletubbies. Remember the Teletubbies?
They do. Teletubbies are interesting too. My nephews all like the Teletubbies, and my son too. That one's $679 on eBay. Okay, so I guess people are probably buying these and then upping the price and then reselling them. I assume. I mean, some of them look, those are not all just Labubu dolls. Some of them are cards and $250. There's one up for $250 on eBay right there. $259. So they're going for about, let's just say, roughly $200. Some of them right there. That's a little expensive, Dennis. I don't know. It's not in my budget right now. So I will not be. Maybe the keychain size, but I mean, even the keychain size can hold a dark entity. And Dennis, here's the thing too that we've talked about with clones. Okay, we brought up Clonaid with Martha Stewart potentially. This is for entertainment purposes only. Gosh, I hate having to say that every 5 minutes. Clonaid. Okay, we talked about like how is consciousness transferred? Okay, and things like that. And that's a whole other show. But could consciousness be transferred? Like these dark entities that they want to be put somewhere, so they're putting them into these dolls and then shipping them out all over the world to all these kids. Okay, I guess that's kind of where we're going in the beginning of the show today.
Well,
but that's what they're saying.
I don't think it would probably not be a human consciousness that would be transferred. It would be more demonic along those lines. Like I said, these are like walking Dybbuk boxes. It can be that way. Dolls can do that. That's why you have so many haunted dolls in the world and stuff like that. Going, look at Chucky. Look at Chucky. He was a doll in a toy store till somebody put a voodoo spirit in him. Okay, it was a dead gangster that took him most of it. You could suppose that if a person is evil enough, almost very demonic in that nature, it's like Shakespeare said. The evil that men do, lives long after them. The good they do is interred with their bones. A very evil spirit can live on. Look at the Nephilim, and I'm going to be talking about that on my show this week. The Nephilim are disembodied evil spirits of giants and stuff that once lived in this world, and they cause a whole lot of trouble because of that. But they're not going away, and so you can take something like that and definitely put it in a holder. Like I said, it can be anything. It can be a doll. It can be a box. It can be a bottle. Look at the imp in the bottle that Poe talked about. It was not only liquor he was talking about. There was a demon in the bottle. If you're an alcoholic, you know what demon I'm talking about here, folks. Anyway, these things can have homes. And guess what? If they can inhabit you, they can inhabit things like that. But like I said, it's not full-blown possession like when it's a living being. It can like a dog or a cat or a human being or a monkey, whatever. They can be possessed. This is something along different spiritual lines. This is an attachment. And you could very easily attach something like that to a doll. Very easily.
Yeah. This is just a cautionary tale today, everyone. It's a cautionary tale that we are telling you guys today. We're not saying that they are definitely possessed by demons. We don't know. Okay. But they could be. Very well could be. And Lizzie has a really cool comment right here. It says, yeah, I saw the Labubu dolls are quite expensive. In Asia, feng shui masters would discourage people from having too many dolls at home because spirits like to attach to dolls. That's feng shui. Yeah.
And we got to also look at what this thing is representing. Okay. That tells you the story. Okay. Let's just say if I want to buy you a stuffed unicorn for you to play with, or even like a bear or something, a teddy bear. Yeah, I mean,
like that.
There you go. It's or that. Yeah, there you go. That's a toy, okay? But what it represents sometimes can tell you what its true nature is supposed to be behind it. And if you see something like these things looking like demons, looking like monsters, and I'm not talking about cartoons, I'm talking about the real thing here, okay? If they look like that, then what does that tell you? Common sense tells you 2 + 2 = what? And why do you need to market something like that? Why can't you sell unicorns or bumbles and stuff like that? Why can't you do that? Why are you wanting to go sell something that looks demonic? to me, that tells you the story right there. Hey, you better be very wary of what, I think that's the lesson in all this, Jessica.
Yeah.
Be very careful what we bring into our lives, okay? And I'm not just talking about people, or you certainly wouldn't want to bring home a pet mountain lion, okay? Things may be a little rough after that, okay? You don't want to do stuff like that. Be careful what you bring into your life, what you let into your life. And if it don't look right, it don't look good, it gives you the heebie-jeebies, you might better think twice about it, okay? Because there's something telling you something, And we've talked about this before. It's very important, Jessica, that we stress this to everybody watching today. We have built-in spiritual barometers in us. Okay, our Creator made us that way. We have that. That's why we got that personal space around us. Even animals have that personal space. When somebody gets in your personal space, when somebody comes up to you and starts hugging your neck and getting right up in your face, and you get uncomfortable. Why? Because that's sort of like a spiritual bumper there, And pay attention to that, okay? Don't just say, don't believe everything somebody's trying to sell you, or give you or get you to take home with you. Don't do that. Be careful. Know exactly. Here's what I was going to say. The cautionary part of this is know the background of the people and things that you deal with. And if it's something from out of left field somewhere you don't know nothing about, be very, very cautious about it. Because it can open a whole can of worms you might want to leave closed. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of a can of worms, I guess I'm going to have to go take that mountain lion out of the back of my car because that's how I learned how to go racing. If you guys ever watch Talladega Nights, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I can't have a pet mountain lion. Dang it, Dennis. Dang it. I'm going to have to get rid of my mountain lion. If you ain't first, you're last, y'all. That's all I got to say.
Come at you like a spider monkey.
That's right. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew. Okay. But anyways, y'all know I'm a racer. I love that kind of stuff. And I'm from the South. So, and I love mountain lions. I just don't want one in my car. I was kidding. And I also don't want a Labubu doll. Dang it. Can't have these Labubu dolls. I'm just going to stick with my Bumble doll right here. Dennis, thank you so much. And,
I was telling somebody that the other day, Jessica. An old ranger once told me, okay, you and I go out in the woods a lot, okay, so you're going to appreciate this. He said, when you see the mountain lion, it's already too late.
Yeah, it's already too late. That's right. You got to be careful, y'all. That's why always keep your head on a swivel, like I say, especially when you're out in the woods and things like that. But yeah, we're just here to kind of look into this stuff, shine some light on it. And I hope that it was entertaining for everybody today. I really loved this show. Was great. I loved it. I love talking about these things and just learning how we can protect ourselves from any kind of, dark energies and stuff. And earlier today, we did have a question that I forgot to pull back up, but it was in regard to buying things at like the antique store. And like, how do we, and I know you've answered this before, but let's answer it again today. How can you protect your home? Let's just say, if you were to bring in something that might be cursed from an antique store, Dennis.
I'll tell you what, I was telling somebody this the other day. If I had an enemy that I knew somebody that really didn't like me, okay, they really, didn't have any good intentions towards me, or somebody I didn't really know anything about, I would be very, very leery taking anything from that person, whatever it might be. And that includes shaking hands with them on top of that. We got to be very careful, and I'll leave everybody today with the very famous words of William Shakespeare. And he said, the devil hath ability to assume a pleasing form. And we must always remember that. That's the way it works.
Oh, yeah. And when I think of a statement like that, I think of, that the Amityville Horror House, that picture that the Warrens took of that little boy in the upstairs bedroom peeking out. And it's a ghost of a little boy. And they were very animate about saying that was not a little boy. That was a demon. Because they'll show up as
I won't tell you
children,
something,
somebody pretty.
Jessica. I can tell you this without doubt. All the many years that I've investigated, I have confronted demons many times in all their different forms. And some of them can be definitely horrendous, but some of the worst, most disturbing were when they would appear as children sometimes. That is the way these things work, though. They can catch you off guard and make you very uncomfortable in some ways, and they know this, and they're always trying to psych you out. Okay, that's the way they work. They work not just on your soul and your spirit, but your mind as well. And that's why Jessica and I talk about these things. We need to be prepared spiritually to combat them. And B, you got to have that, like we say, that vibration high. You got to be ready for it. You got to wear that armor of light. That's the main thing. You got to put on that armor of light. And I was telling somebody this the other day when it comes to bad stuff like this bad juju we're talking about today. That's another very similar name, isn't it? Juju. Anyway,
Yeah, it is.
when
It
you talk
rhymes.
about that, you got to remember something, and I advise people about this. And like we were talking about earlier about being more light in you than darkness and all that stuff. You've got to, I think, many times consider a higher power. Definitely prayer is one of those things. And I'm going to tell you something about prayer, folks. And I have seen this. I know this without a doubt. I'm not going to tell you something that don't work. Okay.
Mhm.
It puts a golden dome over you. It really does. It puts a golden dome over you, and all this crap bounces off of you. Okay, and it doesn't hit home, and that's a good thing in my book, no matter which way you look at it.
Oh yeah, yes. Stay protected, y'all. Protect your energy. Stay prayed up. Put on that full armor of God every day. Okay, and just be spiritually aware, energetically aware, and spiritually aware, psychically aware of things that are going on around you. Pay attention. Okay, I think that's a big thing. Pay attention to what's going on around you and what you're buying for your children and allowing your kids to have, and what you're ingesting into your body and all that kind of stuff. Now is the best time to start really paying attention to all that and taking care of ourselves spiritually, emotionally, physically. And man, I'm sending so much love and light to everybody out there today. And Dennis, you too. I hope that everybody did enjoy this show and learned a little something, just like I did. And start noticing when bad juju is around you. Like Maureen said, bad juju. You can't really get around it. There's going to be bad juju out there. There's going to be stuff that's dark out there. We're going to encounter this in our everyday lives. Now it's up to you. You have free will to decide if you want to bring that in, and if you want to deal with it or not. Okay, we're going to always have to deal with it, but whether you want to embrace it or not is up to you. And so we're not telling you what to do. We're just putting some information out there for you guys. Okay. So wonderful show today, Dennis. And I know you have another show this evening. And I would love for you to tell the audience about your YouTube channel and what you have going on tonight and this week.
Okay, well tonight on the road less traveled, and my good friend Gerald Fountain, we're going to be talking about. We do a lot of the offbeat stuff, so we're going to be talking about strange disappearances tonight on the road less traveled. And Wednesday night on Hunting the Shadows at 9 o'clock p.m. All the shows are 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, folks. On Hunting the Shadows, I may be doing one of the most important podcasts I have ever done. I'm going to be talking about the rise of the Nephilim. It's time to prepare for war, okay? And we're talking about spiritual war here. And so I'm going to be doing that on Beyond the Hunting the Shadows. Also on Friday night, we'll be doing Paranormal Point of View. I had a very special guest on last week. I had Maureen and Gus on the show. And she's going to be one of my field operatives. I'm going to be doing some remotes. I'm going to even be doing a remote from your Florida thing, hopefully. We're going to do that. And so everybody be watching for that. Also, I have a Patreon if you care to join that. And I also have membership open if you want to become a Shadow Wolf and join the Hunting the Shadows YouTube podcast channel club. You can do that. Membership's open in that. Also, if you need any kind of a paranormal consultation of any kind, or you just want to talk about a problem, whatever you got going on, or you want to report something to me, whatever, you can get in touch with me at denniswcarroll.com. And also, my books are available on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. Just look up Dennis W. Carroll. W is for Wolf, by the way. And Dennis W. Carroll as the author.
Wonderful, wonderful. You guys go show some love over on Hunting the Shadows, and go subscribe if you haven't already. And be sure to tune in Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's DennisWCarroll.com, y'all. Thank you so much, Dennis. It's always wonderful having you here. And man, I learned so much every single time you're here. And I think the audience enjoyed it today. I know I did. And so thank you so much. And I want to thank you guys so much for being here today. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you hadn't already. And come back and see me. I will be back on Wednesday on A Glitch in the Matrix. Same time, same place, 1 p.m. Eastern. And y'all figure out your time zones. Okay. But thank you guys so much for being here. Please be safe out there. And let's see, I will leave the show today with, I'm going to show that one picture that I made. Here we go. This is actually on the thumbnail. This was for today at 1. Be wary of your Labubu dolls, y'all. Okay. Just be aware. Okay. Be aware that this cute little thing right here just might come back to bite you. Okay. While you're sleeping at night. It blinks its eyes at you. It turns and moves on its own. I don't know. Just be careful. Please be careful, y'all, with your dolls. All right. Well, I will see you guys back here on Wednesday. Y'all have a great day. And please stay safe out there. Don't live in fear. Okay. And just live in awareness. All right. I'll see you Wednesday. Thank you, Dennis. Bye, y'all.